With retail theft continuing to climb across the country, Boise's organized retail crime unit is working to protect not just stores, but also to keep costs down for customers. And joining us today is Corporal Marshall Plaisted with the Boise Police Department. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
I think with this conversation, we know what retail theft is, but is there a difference when it comes to organized retail theft? Can you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. Organized retail theft involves like a systematic approach to the crimes these people are doing. They're specifically traveling to states and actually targeting specific retailers and specific goods and merchandise in order to further their criminal activity.
Now, it looks like you guys have a task force organized. What does that look like for your department?
So we don't necessarily have a task force per se. So the organized retail crime unit of the Boise Police Department is comprised of just myself and one other officer. And we have a working relationship with our retailers around the Treasure Valley.
Now, does it happen here in Idaho? I feel like we hear about these nationwide, but does that happen here in our communities?
Sure. Yeah, and unfortunately, Boise's not completely protected. The Treasure Valley is not completely protected from this. We do see it, but we see it in much smaller doses than we do some of the larger cities or even some of the neighboring states around us.
Do we have any most recent case that has happened here?
We do, although I can't speak specifically to it. We had one earlier this week where information was that we had a crew that specifically traveled to Idaho to commit their thefts and fraud schemes. And we were lucky enough that we had some fast-acting people from retailers that caught on to it very quickly, got a hold of me and myself and my partner, as well as the neighborhood contact officers with the Boise Police Department, were able to conduct surveillance on these guys and ultimately arrest them and take them into custody.
I mean, when this happens, it impacts our community as a whole, but also those businesses. And I'm thinking about those businesses. How do they prepare or do they train to be able to spot these issues?
Sure, and that's a great question. We're lucky enough that we are such a small-knit community here in the Treasure Valley that the Organized Retail Crime Association of Idaho, which is comprised of prosecutors and law enforcement and retailers around the Treasure Valley, we meet once a month and we do intel sharing. We share pictures, information, cases. We pass information along. So there's a giant network that's going on out there right now, which we're extremely lucky and fortunate for that.
So for any businesses right now watching us, any tips that you can give them?
Yeah, I mean, the loss prevention officers and stuff that I work with, they're the frontline soldiers for everything that's going on. They're the eyes and they're the ears of retail theft. They're very good at what they do, and ultimately it comes down to them being able to put together the evidence, the pictures, the reports, contacting law enforcement, letting us know what's going on so that we can investigate it. And I mean, they do an awesome job. They make my job look extremely easy.
What about our community members maybe that are seeing something fishy or maybe something that's out of normal?
Yeah.
What can they do?
Yeah, absolutely. And because retail crime affects us all, right? It's a billion-dollar industry. And so what that does is also drives our prices up in our grocery stores and at supermarkets and stuff. And so the public being able to keep an eye out on what's going on and report that to law enforcement or to report that to retail staff is extremely helpful.
Yeah, so not necessarily approach the suspects or people maybe suspected of doing that.
I would advise against that just because you don't know who you're contacting and what kind of state they're in at that point.
All right, well, thank you so much. Very helpful information today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, we will